Welcome to LipOut with LATONA. I am your host, Stacey Latona. And as you guys know, this particular podcast has been kind of focused on demystifying golf and getting women on the golf course. And I've had a lot of really cool women that golf, rock star women, just in general in the sports industry. So my guest today is a little bit different than the norm. And as you know, I'm also launching a women's golf apparel line with LATONA Golf in May. And so when I met this woman who is a fashion diva, I'm like, first of all, I need to know you. Secondly, we need to have some major conversations about fashion. So first of all, let me welcome my guest, Paulina Petkoski. How are you today?
Thank you, Stacey. I'm great. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I promise you I'm going to let you talk, but I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. And if anybody hears any lovely noise in the background, it's because my puppy that was being really, really calm before is no longer being calm. So we'll see how that goes. But Paulina was raised in Detroit. Okay, she holds her Bachelor of Fine Arts in International Fashion Design and her Associates of Fine Arts in Fashion Design from Polimoda International, or Polimoda, I think is how you say that, International Institute of Design in Florence, Italy, and the Fashion Institute of Technology in NYC upon the debut of her graduate thesis collection under the direction of Mr. Calvin Klein himself. She was recruited by the creative director of Diane von Furstenberg's design team and then later worked for fashion brands including Isaac Mizrahi, Pamela Roland, and Rachel Roy. I told you she was a rock star. Then she returned to Detroit in 2014 and kind of disenchanted with the state of the fashion industry, which we'll talk about. And then you are basically looking into possibilities and what could happen in the city, and you wanted to pursue your mission to kind of reimagine the future of fashion, which I'm excited to talk to you about. But if that's not enough, she's also the co-owner of the Playground Detroit. You're an independent fashion stylist for Nordstrom, fashion stylist, I think, and then an adjunct professor at CCS, which is the College for Creative Studies here in Detroit. So I told you I would eventually let you talk, but first, tell us about Playground Detroit, because I want everyone to kind of know a little bit more about that, and then we'll get into how we met.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the amazing introduction. So Playground Detroit is a social enterprise that was started when I moved back to Detroit in 2014 with a business partner. And it's really about encouraging the Detroit artist community, musicians, the creative economy in Detroit to grow and evolve and support those who are making in the city. So we opened up an art gallery in 2017, and we just celebrated our 5th year of hosting solo exhibitions for emerging Detroit-based artists. And we're just outside of Eastern Market, so we're in the city, and it's really been a really fun experience.
That is so cool. That's like one of those things that people are like, I think I want to open up, like a really cool art, having the dream and doing it is like two different things and what you have to go through. And I always talk about, you just have to take action, so it's interesting that you have a partner in this. You sort of aligned yourself with somebody else as well.
Yes. Her name is Samantha, and we started this years ago, and she also has connections to the Detroit art scene as well. So it was just like a really good match how we started the company.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about Italy. And tell everybody how you ended. I know I just went, so I have I'm Italian, but I just went and I was in love, and I didn't go to Florence, but when I basically read your resume and we talked a little bit about brunch the other day, I was just absolutely fascinated on how it all sort of transitioned for you. So tell everybody about it.
So I was studying fashion design in Michigan, and I was feeling a little uninspired and disconnected from not being in New York. And so I applied to go to the Fashion Institute.
Not surprising, by the way.
Yeah. And when I applied to go to FIT in New York, they actually pre-enrolled me or accepted me to the study abroad program. So I was able to study in Florence for a whole year. And during that time, it was just life-changing. We got to travel all of Europe, go to some of the most amazing trade shows in Paris and Milan. It was a really impactful experience for me. I
can imagine. And then, so you do this for a year. I would imagine it would be slightly intimidating, though. Were you intimidated at all to do it? Because I love this, because it would be normal to be slightly intimidated, but what's so cool about it is that when you face those fears and you just move through that, it's life changing. You have to be brave, right?
Oh yeah, I was pretty fearless, and the alternative was to stay in Michigan. So I was like, you know what, I'm out. Like, I can figure this out. And I got to meet some of my best friends there, and just really experience the world on like a global perspective. That when you grow up in Michigan, it's not really so internationally minded.
So was she in Italy as well? I don't even know where she's based, or is she in New
No,
York?
New York based.
Gotcha. So here's my big question. So is which everyone's dying to know, I'm sure. So Devil Wears Prada. First of all, I know she's amazing because I've seen interviews with her. And for those of you that don't know, she was originally she had invented the wrap dress, which is one of her things, and I'm actually sort of emulating that a little bit with golf, which you don't see because she's an inspiration. But is it anything like that when you go to work for those fashion houses?
Absolutely. I
It
think that the
is. It
times,
is. I didn't expect you
yeah,
to say it is. Okay, tell us.
yeah, I think the times have changed a bit, but at the time, internships and the competitive nature, I mean, the industry's only so big, so there's only so many positions, and, you really have to work your way up. It's all the way from those coffee runs to these random things that you're like, what am I even doing here? To those important moments where you get to learn and grow a bit. I should tell you, I'm going to tell you a story real quick.
Oh, we want to
Since
hear
you
it.
mentioned, since you mentioned the Devil Wears Prada, so while I was in college, I had started a clothing brand, which we might talk about. And at the time, I was walking through Soho, and I noticed that Anna Wintour was walking across the street.
Oh,
So, so this is like such a New York moment, right? Because it's like, okay, you have one chance, like this is your shot. You either take it
right.
or leave it.
What's your elevator
So I
speech?
so
Right.
I had my card for the brand that I had started, and she was going into Balthazar, which is like a bakery, restaurant, amazing place that, she would often frequent. And so I ran across the street and I yelled, Anna, because, if you're like screaming Anna Wintour, she probably wouldn't think you were like a friend or somebody. So she turned around, she stopped. She actually, I went up to her, I talked to her, I said, I'm a merging designer. I'm launching a collection. It's a sustainable brand. Here's my card. I would just like love you to know that. And she said, oh, thank you. And then she just walked, continued her way into Balthazar. And I was like, I can't believe I just did.
No, but like, why not, right? And I think the thing that people don't realize is people are approachable. You know what I mean? I mean, I could see where it would get old in certain cases, but when you're just, admiring someone's work or kind of look up to them, I mean, that's a huge ego boost for them too, and most I would think would remember, when they started out, I think that's fascinating and cool. Good for you.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I said whatever. I don't care. I'll try.
Got it. You took action. That's my big thing for 2023. Just take action, whatever it is, take action. So let me back up too, just so that people understand how we met. It's not like I was like, Googling, oh, I need someone that knows something about fashion. But we are both in M3 Linked, which I always like to give them a plug as well, which is an entrepreneur, basically networking group. And you obviously are a business owner because you have Playground Detroit downtown and all that. And I stood up and started talking, obviously, about, the LATONA Golf and what I'm doing with that. And then I heard about your background, and we sort of like, all right, we have to, even though you meet a lot of people, you and I have to meet after or outside of this, basically. And so we made a meeting to go to brunch and got a chance to kind of dive in a little bit deeper about everything that I'm doing. And one of the things that came up was our conversation around sustainability, and, what I can do kind of now and what I am doing, or just like, this is where it starts. So let's talk a little bit about that. And there is a lot of waste in the garment industry, correct? Like it's.
Oh yeah. I mean, the industry is unfortunately one of the largest polluters. And it's such a big industry, and it affects so many people. I mean, everybody wears clothes. And over the past, 2-3 decades, the consumption and the production has just continued to grow, and the recycling and the kind of aftermath of the waste management, you could say, hasn't caught up to each other. So there's a bit of an imbalance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the thing that I'm trying to, I actually, and I think this is where it starts. The first conversation is I talked to my manufacturer and I said, listen, I know we're already at X, I'm getting ready for the first launch, but these are the conversations that I need to put in the universe to start having these conversations now with our main manufacturer overseas, so that number one, they know and they are aware that people are asking for it. Because as you had mentioned to me, and obviously I did listen to you, if we're not asking, then they don't know that it's needed, and they have to start, researching it and finding recycled materials and so on. So I did already put that out there to start having those conversations. And one of the things you talked to me about too was just transparency in general. It's like, you know what, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start having those conversations. But what did you mean by like transparency? You're talking about one company that was doing a really great job with that.
Yeah, so I think across the board in the fashion industry right now, people are looking to make changes, and brands are, there's pressure on brands to make those, whether it's through their fabric selection, whether that's through recycling programs or consignment or something like that. But really, it's about the circular economy. And so it's bringing things full circle. So
Yeah.
reducing your waste, figuring out, who are your suppliers, ethical production, making sure that all of these things align so that it's a clear understanding that this is where we are and this is where we have to go. Not everybody's perfect, and certainly a lot of brands are missing the mark, but if they can at least be transparent and say,
Yeah.
we're doing as good as we can at the moment, and by, 2025 or 2024, whatever these goals are, these benchmarks, then you can kind of understand where they're going to be. And like, for example, Reformation is one of those brands that has really great quarterly reporting. They talk about their water wastage, their fabrics, their staff and their wages. Those things are all part of sustainability.
That's amazing. That's so. Now you don't golf, is that correct? Or you started to golf? Tell everybody where you're at in your golf journey. I call it your golf
Okay,
journey.
so as much as a fashion expert I am, I have to say I am not a golf expert by any means. This past summer was my first time on a golf course with my partner, who is chairing a golf tournament. So I'm newbie
Well,
status.
that's okay, because at least you're going to be getting into it a little bit when the fashion is getting a little bit better. So you'll have something to wear. So make sure we hook you up with Latona Golf. I don't know if you can even hear in the background my puppy's starting to make little noises. So I just want everyone to know what that is. I may have to put her on camera here, the way she's making her
Oh
noises.
my God, we won't be
Oh,
mad.
I know, she's so adorable. But so tell me now. I did notice that, and also in all of your goodies and your nuggets on LinkedIn, that you actually got the Vanguard Award 2018. Now
Yes.
Vanguard, it basically profiles outstanding efforts of select group of young professionals and entrepreneurs growing and excelling in their respective fields. So what did you get that for, and how exciting is that? I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you very much. So the Detroit Young Professionals organization has been hosting the Vanguard Awards for a few years prior, and at the time we had just opened the gallery in 2017, and have been doing a lot of advocacy work for the arts and the creative economy in the city. So being recognized for that was a really nice way to kind of acknowledge the work that I have been doing in the city.
That's just unbelievable. And Detroit is just like, it's just killing it. Like, it's just doing so good. COVID obviously kind of set us back a little bit, but where it has gone in such a short amount of time, and it's people like you that go into the city that have cool creative ideas and they want to get involved. That's what they do. And where's the art behind you? What's that about? Whose is that? Is that
So
somebody emerging?
this is actually a piece that was done at an event where a graffiti artist did like a tribute to various different graffiti artists throughout the city into two canvases. And so my partner and I, we bought them kind of unexpectedly at an event, and we pulled, like, they got pulled off the wall. So the original graffiti mural was on brick and the canvases, and now it's installed in the home. So we do have the original photo where the graffiti artist actually did this on the wall. And it's cool because usually graffiti stays on the wall. And this one, it kind of, you could take these two pieces off and you could see the places where the canvases were, where the mural was around it too.
That is so amazing. Now, do you know, speaking of connecting, very cool powerhouse women in the city of Detroit, do you know Amy from Rebel Nell? Did you meet her at our M3 Linked?
We did meet at the M3 Linked, yes.
So that's the first time you guys ever met?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fascinating. You guys have to have lunch too, because she does such amazing work with graffitiing and homeless women in shelters and them, you know, obviously taking the graffiti and turning it into, you know, jewelry, which is crazy. And she's been doing it for a long time too. So who knows where those two, like, that's what I just love. Women are, can you tell I just love women because they're so good at just connecting? You know what I mean? We just by nature are like, you know, we want to embrace each other and help each other and find a way to, you know, do cooler, better, bigger things. And I really do feel like we can, you know, absolutely change the world. So if you had to, obviously your career has been just ridiculous and outstanding. And so from a fashion perspective, let's make sure we also touch on that. You know, I'm not going to take any advice always and forever from you because you clearly, you know, I mean, again, I told you, I know this has got to be so frustrating sometimes when you've done all this stuff and you're so good at what you do. You hear my dog? Come here. Come here. So good at what you do. And then you've got, you know, somebody like me that, you know, comes along and goes, oh, I think I'm going to start a brand. But that wasn't really what my mission behind it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a fashion designer. Come here. Oh, I want to be a fashion designer. But it was more so that I saw a need. Women need more choices. We need functional fashion, you know, on the golf course. And somehow, I don't even know, like I have more in me than I thought when it comes to the fashion side of it. I mean, I think I showed you some of my stuff. Like, it's not like it's, you know, it doesn't look like it rolled out of, I don't know where. It's definitely, you know.
No, it's unique. It's unique. It's very fashionable. And I've been doing, because of, you know, starting to head to the golf course, I've been doing research and I've been looking into brands, and I think you're definitely onto something. I can see myself wearing it.
Okay, that's a huge plug. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And now, just so everybody knows, now I've got you in my friend circle. So how could I fail, right? Everything hopefully go well. But so one of the things that you spoke a little bit about was that you were disenchanted with the fashion industry and kind of where it was going. So speak to that a little bit. What does that actually mean for you?
Well, you know, on the design side, you're looking at really an increase in deliveries, in seasons, in like brands, and there's just so much. And I think the consumer is starting to feel a bit lost. I think, you know, people really need to get back to capsule wardrobes, shopping responsibly, and brands need to really understand who their customers are and why they're producing and making what they're making. Some brands say, oh, you know, we want to merchandise this, so we're going to add this line, you know, to our existing product line. And I think it's much more responsible to focus on your key items and those things that are the brand DNA instead of adding all of this filler stuff, because it's just such a competitive market. And, you know, consumers aren't necessarily only shopping one brand anymore.
Right.
You know, so you have to really be attentive to trends and what the consumer wants. And what you're seeing online now is more searches for sustainable fashion. People want to have sustainable choices and know that they're making responsible decisions when they're shopping and when they're, you know, literally spending their money. Because when you spend your money, you have a voting power. You vote on what brands you support. And, you know, similarly, what brands you don't want to support. You know, brands like H&M and Zara have really done a disservice to not just the environment and the waste that we have, but really just like harming designers, because they're really just taking what they're seeing and offering it faster, cheaper, and sooner than all the other, you know, designers that actually are working on making high quality beautiful things. And I think people need to really think a bit more about where they're shopping and why they're buying the things that they're buying.
But it's true, and you as a fashion, as a stylist know this too. I mean, I know, and I think I mentioned this to you. I mean, I had a Burberry coat, and I heard this a long time ago. Like, spend the money, but get staple pieces that will transcend fashion, whatever, for a while, and you might spend X on it that would be more than you would if you ran to a lower end store, but it's going to last you longer. It's going to be quality. And I literally have had this coat. I mean, it could be 15 years, and it doesn't look. I mean, maybe I need a button or two that I need to put back on it, but it's tested time, and it was worth the investment. So I agree with you, and I think that's what with LATONA Golf. Number one, I'm the worst when I throw stuff in the washing machine. I'd rather buy something new. So I'm probably then iron it. I'm a good ironer actually, but I just don't do that. But my stuff, I threw it in the other day to test stuff. Like, there's a magnet in there, and I wanted to make sure it didn't stick to the side, and do the colors bleed? All these things that you have to do to test it on your own. And it came out of the dryer looking better than when it even went in. I'm like, that's my kind of piece, because you'll wear it over and over and over because it looks, good, and it's kind of designed to have that tighter, more of a feminine fit. So any wrinkle that might be in it pops out because your body fills it in. You know what I mean? So, but even
That's great. And you know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, even just in terms of sustainability, there's so many different things. Most people don't know about guppy bags. And so for certain things that have mixed fibers, if you want to put it in a guppy bag before you put it in the washer, what most people don't know is that when you have a fabric, let's say it's two different fabrics together, polyester and spandex, those fibers have microfibers, and those come off in the wash. And then actually that's what's going into water supplies, which are going into fish, which is going into humans. And most humans have a lot of little microplastics in our bodies, in our bloodstreams now, because we're ingesting these from the wash. So even if you're washing not on hot, if you're using these bags so that you're preserving these microfibers, or not even putting them in the dryer, there's so many things that add up collectively.
Okay, what's a guppy bag? I've never even heard of that, and maybe I'm making myself look like an idiot, but what is that for anybody else?
Most people don't know it.
Okay.
It's a brand that makes just basically a Ziploc bag that you put, any garments in the wash with when you're actually putting it in the washer, so that it's collecting those microfibers, because they're breaking off, they're microscopic. And it's just because the fibers, when they're washed, they have wash and wear, and you'll Google some articles on it. There's a lot of different fish and things that they're finding at a microscopic level that are now basically being ingested.
Well, that would make
regularly.
sense, because guppies, so that's why they call it the guppy bag, probably because it's saving the guppies, which I think is the name for a fish, the little guppies. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Wow. Does it make your clothes last longer too? Has it got advantages to that, or is it just from the sustainability standpoint, or, you know what I mean? The environment, I
think for a care standpoint, when fibers start to break down over time, that's when clothes have wear and show the wear. So
right.
I imagine that there are, benefits for your clothes too.
To that too. Mm-hmm. Wow, look at all these fascinating things that we're learning. So I want to, is there anything in particular, and I'll make sure that we give everybody all the details on where to find you, one, if they want to do, because you do personal styling for Nordstrom and White House Black Market, correct? Is that?
Yes, and Chico's and Soma. I just accepted the position as social stylist for those three brands, and I am the second social stylist based in Michigan. So basically what that means is I can book appointments, help you shop. If you're already a brand, women love these brands. So if you're already a Chico's lady or a White House Black Market girl, I can help you with new sales, using your awards, shopping in person, and even virtually. But I don't just work with those brands. I also work with, if you mentioned, Nordstrom, and really anywhere that my clients are looking to shop. I mean, I meet my clients where they are. So that just means, price point, lifestyle, size, age. It doesn't matter because, how you get dressed, how you represent yourself, and how, most importantly, your confidence is really important to being successful. And a lot of busy women, CEOs, doctors, you name it, they really just don't have the time or maybe even the bandwidth. That's not their strong suit, but doesn't mean it's not important. So I really, honestly, I'm super passionate about working with people and helping them figure those goals out for themselves, and then really build a sustainable wardrobe so that you're not just buying something because you have an event or because you don't know what looks good on you and you're just trying different things and, essentially wasting money. It's really about doing something that works for you and then building on that, so it becomes like a system.
Yeah, and I think we have so many different areas these days. Like I find like I have my kind of my casual stuff, and then I have my going out stuff, and then I have my, oh, I got to be more professional at work. And I'm lucky because I can be a little bit more casual. But then when you go onto the golf, I mean, there's just so many things. And I know my family's always like, you're a hoarder. You have too many clothes. You need to get, but I'm like, I have so many different areas of my life. And then normally what ends up happening is, if I'm going to go out with somebody new or whatever, even though you think, oh, you should wear something that they haven't seen, you have a lot of stuff that the person's never seen, it has to fit the moment. I mean, I don't know if you're like that, but it's like, well, what's the moment? Where am I going? Is this a little more fancy? Is a little bit. So, I definitely need an overhaul, and I'm sure there's like pieces that can kind of come together that you can dress up and dress down and that kind of stuff. But, I don't know. It's different too, because when you live in Michigan versus if you live in New York, there's a heck of a lot more things that you can change your wardrobe. I'm always looking for cool events to go to so I can wear something kind of cool,
Yeah.
But we don't have as many of those things here. I feel like we need more, more cool
Yeah,
things.
I agree. But also, what we have and that New York doesn't have, and I was just telling this with a group of ladies, I was doing like a home styling party, and I'm like, we need things that you can take from the office to after work drinks or go to your, kids' recital and just be able to switch out a few things, maybe your accessories, maybe taking the blazer off, putting on a different jacket or changing your heels. But we have cars, we have a mobile closet right in our back pocket. So I think that's like a key thing to think about is like when I had to go to different events in New York and change after work, you're either running back to your place or on public transportation or schlepping around.
True.
Keeping your flats in your bag at best. But in Michigan, at least the benefit is that if you're smart, you can kind of like think ahead, and then if you're
Live
really
out of
in
your
a
car.
pinch, grab a few key items that can really transform your look and make it more relevant to whatever you're doing that day.
Well, it's interesting because that sort of transitions into sort of what I was trying to do too with LATONA Golf. And not every piece will be this way, but it was, guys, they have turned casual day or whatever it is. They're not wearing suits anymore. They are wearing golf attire all day. Then they go from work to the golf course. And that was my other issue, is that how do I come up with a kind of a cool, sporty, like in the middle of summer outfit that you could legitimately wear to work, and then you could go to the course. And by the way, now you've got the zipper, you could unzip in the clubhouse, a little bit more to kind of like turn it a little bit more, into the sexier side, so that you're not feeling like, oh, this is what I wear to work, and now I feel like, ugh, because I'm out, you know what I mean? A little bit. So I am with you on all of that. I think that's all like really, really good information. So tell people how they can get a hold of you for the stylist. Give us your Playground Detroit. I think it's just playgrounddetroit.com, right? Is that your email address for that? Or tell us all your...
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so I think the best way to connect with me would be on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is at Paulina Petkoski. And if you want to check out the gallery, it's at Play Detroit. There you can find all of my, especially on my personal styling and fashion IG, you can find a link to book an appointment with me. You can shop my picks from these brands that I really highly recommend. And you can kind of follow me for some upcoming spring fashion content that I'm going to be kicking off in the new year too. So I think that'd be the best way to connect.
That's perfect. And you know what? I'm going to ask a question that I think a lot of women do wonder, and that might hold them back from necessarily doing like stylists, because if you haven't done it before, you don't know. How does that work? Like when you are a personal stylist for Nordstrom pays you, or is there a fee? Like, and I know it probably varies and it's like a little bit different, but just so that it takes out that intimidation factor, maybe for somebody that hasn't done it before that really wants to use you, just give us like a little like snip of how that kind of works. And depends, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah. So if you're interested in shopping any brands specifically, like Nordstrom, Chico's, White House, Black Market, or Soma, you can contact me and I can do a complimentary shopping appointment with you. I can also take product to your house. So that's a really cool thing. And then you can just shop with me. I can help find sizes, place orders with you online, find discounts and stuff like that. If you're looking for more services, which is really a good way to start with a new client, is I typically recommend an image assessment and a closet edit. So the image assessment is complimentary with your closet edit. That means that I come to your house, we really take an inventory of everything that you have. We look at what you need to keep, what you need to get rid of, what you need to replace. And then also, like you said, sometimes people bucket their items like, oh, these two go together, or I only wear this when I go to do this. And I will pull things and say, hey, have you ever, worn these together? Like, what's going on here? So most people, when they do the initial closet edit with me, they're actually gaining a lot of outfits without even spending any money shopping. And they're losing a ton of weight. You lose like 50, 100 pounds when I take all of the stuff away to donate. And you really feel that sense of like refresh, restarting, and moving forward. So it's a good time for like spring cleaning to do that. And also I didn't mention it before, but the secondhand economy is amazing, and being able to sell items that you own in your closet that you don't use anymore can actually take the value that you already have and reinvest it. So, using apps like The RealReal or Poshmark, even eBay, like I can help clients find like, oh, there's something, from years ago that I can't find anymore. It's like, well, let's put an alert and we'll find it for you.
That's amazing.
So there's just like so many things.
I probably have thousands of dollars that I could sell of things that I will never wear again, dresses that like, and I'm just very lazy with that. And I'm sure I have a lot of, it would clean something, but I always go, oh, I might wear that again. And as women, we go up and down sometimes in weight, like whether it's 5 pounds or whatever, there's that too. So it's sort of like, I don't like to keep things around that I think, oh, I'm going to get whatever, but it's like,
well, it's hard to make those decisions for yourself. Honestly, it's really difficult. So it's nice to have like a fresh pair of eyes and perspective in your closet with somebody who, obviously has the professional, skills to determine what is going to be back. Because, let's face it, a lot of stuff from like the 90s and even early 2000s is very much on trend again. But then there's some of those pieces that you just want to like let go, let somebody else do their, have its next second life.
Yes. And like spread the wealth, let somebody else have it. I bought two things on Poshmark, so I did just start doing that, 2 dresses. That cost me more to get it sized to fit me than it did buying it, but that's just the way it goes. So I will end. I've got 2 questions I always ask people, and I know you just got into the golfing thing, but would you agree that there's a lack of fashion in women's golf apparel that you've noticed so far?
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. That's my big question. And then the other thing is, what advice would you give your younger self? Not that you're that old, because you're pretty young, but
I think I've always been a person that's no regrets, and doing the things that might scare or intimidate you and just doing it anyways. Sometimes I also say like 50% of the job is just showing up. You never know what's going to happen. And so I think, really I've done all that. I'd have to think a bit harder on what I would say, but I've always kind of just listened to my intuition and know what's right for you, because it's probably not going to be right for other people. And what makes you more unique is really what sets you apart. So like lean into yourself. That's what I would say.
That's really good. Well, you're already doing it, so that's why you don't necessarily have to give yourself that advice, which is huge, but it's good for everyone to hear it. So thank you so much. This is probably the longest one that I've done, but I'm like, ooh, we got to dive into all of this stuff. So it's a pleasure, number one, meeting you. I'm thrilled to have you in my circle now, and appreciate all your insight and input into the fashion industry. And I'm hoping as I go back around, and we'll have everybody go visit Playground Detroit and check it out. And you do like events and stuff there too. So make sure you guys, look into all that stuff too. And thank you so much for being my guest on LipOut with Latona today.
Thank you, Stacey. I'm really excited about what you're doing, and I'm really also happy that we've connected. I think that, the next year with your launch is going to be really exciting, and I can't wait to see how things go from there.
Great. Thank you.